Hey Excel Geeks, this is Jack. I'm back with another robot workshop with Giles Male. Let's go. Our guest today is Giles. He
Hello,
is the humblest MVP.
I am.
Um, has he, you're not wearing your get-up just yet. What does it take to get you into that?
I just have to ask. And I lean back and I'll put it on. It's always there. I don't know how long I can ride this wave of the fur coat being a thing, but I'll keep riding it.
Giles is also the co-owner of Full Stack Modeler and is very well known now in the Excel world, especially after commentating on the Microsoft Excel World Championship finals at the end of last year.
Yes, which was a surprise to me
Yeah,
until 2 days before the event. So that was all good fun.
I imagine that must have been quite hard with the cases kind of not having had the preview of the cases in
Yeah,
advance.
it was very hard. I don't, I'm not seeking sympathy, but yes, it was a really fun thing to do. But there were, I don't know what it was. It was some 8, 9 cases, I think, altogether across the 2 days, and some of them were very, very hard. So that was a challenge. Yeah, but it was brilliant. As you know, the whole event was great fun. We might as well talk about it. I had a torrid time in that first round on both competitions, and that's fine. I accept that.
I feel
And
like
and
you need a starting point to
yeah,
show progress.
tactically, then I've done a brilliant thing because my starting point can't get much lower. Um, but it is annoying. Again, I think this is the why you have to compete, which is what Dim has been saying to me for 2 years, because you can't replicate that experience of.
Mm.
Well, I watched most of Dim's video this morning on the case, the walkthrough, and actually, when you watch him doing certain things, you go, "Oh,
That makes
I
sense.
could have done that.
Yeah.
I could have done that, but I didn't do that. And not only did I not do it, I didn't even nearly do it. And then there's other things where he'd pre-built a lambda in the 10 minutes before we started because he'd taken so much information from the nodes walkthrough on the video
Yeah.
that he pre-built a lambda that did something more complex. I mean, so some things I just look at people like that and I think, that's fine. I'm never going to do that. And there's other things where I think, okay, I just need to stay calm
Yeah.
because I can solve most of those levels, but I can't do it in half an hour and I can't do it with the pressure.
We also have a secret going live at around the same time that we've been working on together, which has been quite fun and exciting.
It's very British. That's what we can say. We should like it's a great team, and we should give a shout out to well, it's you, Elliot,
Hmm.
Patterson, Harry Gross, Harry Watson, and then there's a couple of other people that will be involved as we get things going. I think that's it, isn't it? That's the core group.
Well, you and Miles as
Oh, and Miles. Oh yeah, I should mention
as a
Miles.
bit of a
Miles is involved.
oh yeah, that guy.
Sorry, Miles. Yeah.
Just- I'll maybe cut that bit out of the video.
No, leave it in. Miles will love it. He's used to it.
And also next week, one other exciting thing that is happening next week, on top of the Global Excel Summit, on top of our not so surprise announcement, is we're doing a speed run.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to
We haven't
that.
even mentioned that. We're going up against Jim Early.
Yeah,
That is
great.
Eric Ohm, creator of OA Robot, which we're doing today, and Giles and myself are forming a team to go up against Jim Early. We were going to do it as like, each of us just speed runs the case from last week, but we decided we're not good enough.
Yeah, 100%. I can't go from like 200 points on a level and having a mild heart attack to speed running the LeBron.
Yes. Yes, I
Give
feel
me a
like I
chance.
feel like it's only fair. We did come up with a lot of rules against him and a lot of ways to
Yeah,
handicap him, and it all felt very unfair.
yeah.
Um, so hopefully that isn't as bad as all that for him. If it's just us kind of relay racing.
Collaboratively.
Yeah, I still feel
Yeah.
like because I've got the last two questions. If we're just going 1 to 6, I still feel like I'm going to be the fool that's sitting there slowly, like working my way through at the point in time at which he sits back, and then everyone's going to be like bouncing around and it's over and like congratulating him, and I'm like, just get my final time in. Just.
I hadn't actually thought about the fact he will physically be in the same space as us, so
Yeah.
I can distract him severely if he's really pulling away. I'll just grab his laptop and run off.
Right.
Really looking forward to it.
Shall we step into some roboting?
Yes,
We are looking at Giles' screen, and you're looking at
you
the
are.
Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge. So
I
tell us,
am.
tell us what you're going to show us today.
So very basic stuff, and my laptop is running things pretty slowly at the moment. So hopefully it's all going to work seamlessly when we get into this. But what I'm trying to do, because I need all the advantages I can get, I am trying to lean on OA for some of the kind of efficiency stuff. And then I'll show you a little bit of the work that I do with it at the moment that is linked more to financial modeling. So
Yeah.
this was quite a nice case anyway, that I did a walkthrough online for. But some of the things I'm using OA Robot for, I've seen you do very similar. So I'm trying to get this sequence of things when I start a battle. The
Mm.
first of which is around backing up sheets. I'm not great yet at memorizing all the keyboard shortcuts for OA Robot. So I tend to type in the word. And
Yeah,
when Eric
I
sees me do
do
that, he's like,
that.
you got to use the shortcuts that I can't remember them all.
Even though I
So
created the shortcuts, I can't remember them. But that clever search feature that he's got does the job.
it's great.
Yeah.
And it's all very like naturally intuitive to me with the words. So the first command I use just creates essentially a replica of the tabs, which is really mainly useful, I think, for when you've got, data sets like this. So if you start then mucking around with something on your main one, you've got a backup you can
Yeah.
turn to. The second command that I always turn to, and I think you've got these as part of like a ultra pack, which is really cool. But for me, I've got named use ranges and all sheets,
Yes.
which is brilliant. So Eric's got this set up so it doesn't bother with anything with backup in it. So if you actually look at the drop down, it's not kind of duplicated those across the backups as well, which is
Oh,
brilliant.
that's good. Did you take that from Eric's when did you do some thieving from Eric's code there?
Well, it's so the not so secret is I've begged Eric and I've said, look, you need to give me every advantage I can get against everyone else, and he's like, right, well, I'll make you a humble MVP pack,
I love
which
it.
has got some secret sauce.
Does
So
it do
there may be
you
one or two things
now
that are
to go
special.
off topic for a second, do you have any
Yeah,
special humble um commands?
I will. Some of them won't even be Excel related. So let's say I get near the finals. I want to be in a position where if I'm on stage and I'm on camera and my screen's on camera, I can call up a,
Humble MVP
shortcut
video.
MVP and me in the fur coat pops up on the screen for 10 seconds. But I've backed down on that because I'm not sure, I'm not sure I'm getting on that stage. So that's my second one. The naming of the data sets
Yeah.
essentially in there. And then the other one, which I know which I actually think is probably one of the most useful ones anybody could have, is splitting the case levels.
I honestly love that.
It's brilliant. It
Mm.
is absolutely brilliant. So you end up with kind of the bonus questions on one, and then every level, and then also, and I haven't obviously I've only done one battle recently, but you get
Hmm.
this no examples one as well, which I think is going to be brilliant for some cases where you suddenly need to pull, some logic across all of the line levels.
That's a great one. I love that.
So I think that's really cool. And then again, I haven't really used these in anger, but you've got things like the data table setup. So bearing in mind, this is all on my individually split levels, which is really cool already.
Yeah.
But if I then go generate game data table, it sets up everything that you would
Oh, that is
normally
actually
do.
beautiful. I'm
So
still
when
copying things to the left. So
So this is great. And when Eric first showed me this, he showed me this, and I was like, "Oh, that's great, but wouldn't you need it on another tab? Because normally when you watch people doing the live battles, if they're doing a data table, they would go to another tab. But actually, for most cases, you don't because you've already split the level out into its own tab. So
Hmm.
this is great. So this is giving you the, the input cell that you could change to various things, and it's giving you the output here, which is whatever the numbers are here. So that is already, imagine you do all your logic, blah, 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 you get the answer, and then all you have to do at the end is link the green cell to the final answer, and that's going to give you all the data table outputs here, which is really cool. But it gets better. So again, I haven't used this in anger yet, but if I do the same command, but I've got two sets of variables that I need, and also by the way, because I just used that command, it's now at the top of the list. If I now hit enter on this,
Oh,
it sets the same thing up, but it's given me both of those variables. So this is now ready for my answer to be plugged in based on those two kind of variables that you need for each line. I mean, how cool is that?
I love that. That one is so much better than my one at the moment. Just
Is it? So then the other things that I've got, so this was just what I used when I did the walkthrough for this case. So bear in mind that one of the first things I did was name my ranges for my data sets. They're going to name the data sets the same things as the tabs. So if I start typing out food data or prices, I can call up the whole data set,
nice.
and from there, let me just there we go. So this is the whole data set. Now I've forgotten what this was. So given a food, how much of it was ordered across all 1,000 orders? I think these are kind of spurious examples because it would be very quick to just use normal functions anyway.
Yeah.
But just bear with me on this. What you've got there is the whole table of data that is essentially here. And I think where OA robot's going to be really useful in certain areas is, let's say it was more complex than this, you can start filtering the data set that you've pulled through here really nicely.
Mm.
So, for example, in this example row here, we want to filter it down by the foods that show apple. And then really all we want to do is sum all the quantities. So if I go over here, if I go over to, so with my active cell on the food and I start typing in filter, one of the commands is paste filter array by copied cell. So I control seed on apple before I went over here. You can see it's still active. So if I then click on that, what it's going to do is it's going to filter this array output from the table of data down to Apple, but it's not filtering by a static text of Apple. It's filtering it by that copied set, by a link to that copied cell.
Oh,
So what that
nice.
means I can do is I can now do, all I want is I mean, you could literally go in and just do like a sum of that if you want, but let's say I wanted to go all the way. Let's say keep column of arrays. All I want to do is keep that active column that I had highlighted. That's going to just filter it down to that field of all the amounts. And then if I wanted to, I could go even further. And again, I think there's ways you could wrap this up, but you've got things like sum array.
I use
So just,
summary a lot.
yeah, yeah, it's great. So this is getting me down to the right answer. And then I think, oh, I just hit Control P, which is just in a percentage. So I didn't mean to do that. And the formatting's broken on it, obviously. So then I think I've got the same things you do, which is, again, usually it's intuitive, but if I do down, autofill down, it
Does
should, oh, I might
I
have to,
think you
hang
have to
on.
do it from the first cell, at least my one does. Okay.
Yeah, so you go here, autofill down, that's going to copy it down. So that's giving me all the answers. And then the one I think you also mentioned a minute ago, which I try and use a little bit, and again, it would be useful to learn the shortcuts, is same game answers to the left.
If you're doing an array, then it does get it, but
So save game data to the left, and it will put them all over to the left. So if I was quicker and my laptop was a bit quicker, I think that sequence of things is fantastic. But probably the most impressive thing for me in all of that is this, where it's just through doing Control C and then using that command on the array output,
yeah.
it's creating the formula to do that, which is really, really cool.
I love that it's actually using, for the filter array function, it's actually using the source cell rather than Apple. which makes it so
Yeah.
much easier to copy down.
And I think you could, I mean, I haven't, again, tried it in live battle, but let's say you had two. I'm pretty sure you'd basically be able to do exactly the same thing here.
Mm.
And you could do it with two steps of linked cells, which is great. And that, I mean, I know OA is capable of so many other things,
Yeah.
but I think for me, for the next month, probably I'm going to do a lot of training between now and the next battle. If I can just master that first 2 minute sequence and then get ready to assess data sets and think, right, is this somewhere where I could use this? I think I should be saving myself 4 or 5 minutes, I would have thought, every battle.
Yes.
The other thing I use OA for at the moment, and I've literally just done some training on this. So we train people for the Financial Modelling Institute's AFM exam, and I would use this anyway. Is we've got a command pack for the AFM, which is kind of fast standard modeling based. So if you look at typically like financial models, we'll have timelines over to the right like this. In fast, we might want to format certain lines in blue to suggest to people that they are an import from somewhere else in the model. If you put them in red, it means that the line is being used somewhere else in the model. And then a bright yellow, typically with a square bracket on, but we haven't put that in yet, is like a temporary code line for a modeler. So I can go anywhere in here and I can just use my shortcuts, Control Shift M, Control Shift X, Control Shift T, and it will put that formatting on. And there are others that we haven't put in yet for the FM exam where you can kind of get a starting calc and you can do Control Shift A and it will just copy. It does the equivalent of Control C, Control Shift Right, or
Yeah.
Control D R, Control Shift R,
Yeah.
Enter. So it just cuts 3 or 4 keyboard steps into one shortcut. And even just those two, I think, are brilliant uses for me personally already for OA. And I know there's a lot more to come.
I love that.
This is what I love because we're scratching the surface. If you look at what people like Dim and Aditya and others are doing with OA, I mean, it's mind blowing.
Mm.
They are already in create your own commands world, but like
Yeah.
really heavy, create your own custom commands. I'm going to be a million miles off that for a while.
I think it takes some learning to get to, yeah, some of the more advanced functionality, but
Yeah,
the day-to-day uses and the way that it can just like simplify your daily life is amazing. Like just
yeah,
being able
I agree.
to do that and not when you were doing that, is that a toggle? I noticed that you turned on the yellow and then you turned it off again.
Yeah, and again, it's actually Miles, my business partner, that's been working with Eric on this. So I don't know why. Usually they're not. So if I do Control Shift M, if I do M again, it doesn't turn off. So I'd have to do, Alt H S C Enter, which is just muscle memory for me.
Yeah.
But for this one, it is a toggle, which is great. I'd like for them all to be toggles. But yeah, so he kind of blow it. Yeah, it's great. I think Eric's a genius. He happens to just be a lovely guy with it as well. So yeah, I think we're all very lucky that he's kind of letting us play around with this crazy toy that he's put together.
It is. It's like the best toy in Excel since Excel. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's levels though, isn't it? Because again, we were talking before, and we've talked about it with other people. Like until you start competing, you just feel you don't know how much there is on that kind of training and skills roadmap anyway. And then you get into this crazy world of competitive Excel where the margins at the top are so small.
yeah.
But yeah, I think if you had all the base skills and then you layer on OA as well, that's got to be a huge advantage.
I absolutely. And I love that you can use it just for one small thing
Yeah,
and it improves your life vastly. And that
yeah,
so you don't need to be doing what Dim's doing or what Aditya's doing with some of the more advanced stuff. You can just be doing the same boring stuff you do every day in Excel, but have it
yeah.
micro automated for you so it becomes quite fun. So
I'm extremely excited to have a command that will bring up an animation of myself.
I was going to suggest that you actually have a command that opens up a YouTube link and sends someone to the MVP video.
I love it. Yeah, Eric, if you're watching. Help me make that, please.
Let's get a humble command that just
You
does
know
that.
what the shortcut is, don't you? It's Control Shift MVP. This has been fun. What,
Yeah, it has. So next week we are doing London.
this is my room, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think the room suits you.
I've got a second fur coat, right?
Oh my god. Wait, hang on a second. Let me find out where my fur coat is.
Because this is perfect for. I mean, my coat matches the bedding.
It does. You'll just blend in.
We've got to get a picture of me in that bedroom like this. This is how it's going to go down
Yeah.
in the pimp pad next week. Get ready, Dim. We're going
Dim.
to put you under zero pressure, but we're going to look very cool while we're
Yeah,
doing
we're
it.
gonna look so cool getting beaten. By the time this video goes up, it will only be a day or two away. So I will see you in a couple of days. And back to camera mode. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Uh,
Absolute pleasure.